All right, now. It's time for us to do the next podcast show, so you got to stop that argument you two are having. But, but Buffin keeps insisting that he can walk on water. Well, you know, Bertold, that that's not possible. Yes, it is possible, sir. I will prove it to you. I can walk on water. Given the proper speed at the moment of impact against the surface of the water, I shall be able to demonstrate unequivocally to you, that means without any doubt, that I indeed can walk on water. No, you can't, brother. You'll fall in the water and drown. Oh, that water's awfully cold here today, you know. It's cold. I wouldn't walk on that. It's cold, but not frozen cold. I will prove it to you. That's enough, you tree. We've got a show to do. Basil is waiting for us here. Hello, folks. This is Philly, and this is Voices in My Head, the podcast where Basil talks about audiobooks with other people that talk about audiobooks at the same time, although they try not to overlap each other too much. Today's episode number is 8, part 1 of 3. That's the first part of a total of 3 parts. And we have a guest, 3 guests. How's that? 3 guests, 3 parts. Ho ho, it's like math in action. Today's guests are the people from ListenUp Audiobooks, and we will send you the place. Now, brothers, you guys got the lake already? You're going to try this out after the show? Yep, we're going to try it out after the show. Okie dokie, here we go.
Well, folks, here we are today with the folks at ListenUpAudiobooks.com. They're the editors that edit the books that I do on the 13-week contracts, as well as many other books, because obviously they need more clients than just me to do the work that they do, to be as large a business, although, you know, I am a pretty famous guy in some circles, mostly with, you know, like elementary school children and so on. But on the playground, I'm the one that gets bullied. But these guys are based down in Atlanta, Georgia, and they are an amazing group. And we are here with, please name yourselves to the audience here.
I am Tracy Wolf. I am the business operations manager here.
And I'm Holly Simpson. I'm the public relations coordinator.
Okay.
Greg Cooler. I am the production coordinator for the 13-week project, Audible projects, and also our new publishing projects.
Excellent. And I would assume that you are cooler than the others.
That's what they tell me.
He thinks.
That's what he says.
Oh, come on.
There's a lot in the name. So, or maybe the mother was compensating. And, well, very cool. Very good. So tell us a little bit about the history of Listen Up Audiobooks. Who are you guys? What do you do?
So our CEO, Chris Fogg, started with talking books up in New York in 2000, and he loved audiobooks. So when he moved down to Atlanta, he started up Listen Up in 2010, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since, recording audiobooks, and we just started our own publishing, so we're doing our own original works now.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you guys have gone like the whole, you went from being just an editing group to being, bam, we are Random House's next fearful competitor.
Yes, they should be scared.
Yes. They're shaking in the boots now.
Or they
No,
can hire
Audible started in the garage, so. So that's how you guys got started. Who are the principal characters in your group? I mean, we got you guys who are obviously the powerhouse behind the wheels. But
That's
who are the
right.
figurehead characters in your group?
It's mostly Chris.
Chris Fogg, our CEO. He also has a giant background in music production. He has a Grammy.
He does have a Grammy.
I got a Grammy too, but she lives in a nursing home.
We have May Middleton, who handles all of our client relationships. We have a fantastic mastering team. They get everything that we've done and they make it sound amazing and beautiful and send it back to our clients. We've got our own in-house casting director that has all of our talent and schedules out talent, and all of our engineers. So it's a kind of a wide variety of a team. A lot of people are contracted, so they do a little bit of everything here, but it all works together.
Mm-hmm.
So I I mean, it doesn't run without each piece of the puzzle.
Right, right. It's a complex piece of machinery.
Yes,
It is.
exactly.
Most
Wow.
times.
So what prompted your guys, Chris and the owners, what prompted them to jump into this industry? I mean, audiobooks is a pretty minor piece of the recording industry. What prompted them to jump into that, you know?
I think it's because it's not as minor as we think. It's really niche, and there's a giant market out there for it, and there's not a lot of people who actually do it and do it well. And so Chris, coming from a music background in New York City and Miami, he had worked in production for so long. Taking the step into narration and audiobooks and editing and doing the production work there was kind of seamless. And then it just turned out there was work there. There's steady work. Everybody loves books. Everybody now is moving more towards anything that's accessible with your phone, an iPad, anything that is mobile. So it's kind of all sort of veering that way anyway. So I think there's a larger market than we know about just because audiobooks has started to become so popular within the last couple years, really, just due to all of the mobility and accessibility that technology has provided for us.
Before I got into this as a job, I've loved audiobooks since the late 80s, getting them on cassette, when you had to get the 15 volume 72 cassette version of the book Dune. And it's incredible stuff to listen to, and just to be able, the fact that it's there, I love, and B, the fact that there's guys like you that can help guys like me out in Alaska, of all places, get my feet into this business. It was so hard getting into this until ACX and Audible came along, and the digital revolution, as they say. If only I had been a little farther along, I could be right there by Dick Hill and Simon Vance and those guys. But no, I lived on a farm outside of Fairbanks, Alaska. So
That's amazing too, because if you think about it, hard copy books, although they're fantastic, and I think it's wonderful that we all read actual books, um, there are places where you can't get copies of certain books and you have to wait for shipping and they might not ship to where you are. This is instantaneous. It's an audiobook. You can download it. You can have it immediately on your phone. So it's just covering a lot of ground that paperback and hard copy books have not been able to cover in the past.
And there's nothing more comforting than having someone read you a story.
That's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things. I work with the Boy Scouts a lot. My sons are in Boy Scouts, and I do a lot of I do the campfire story reading. The wizard, and you shove the stick in the fire, and the sparks fly, and the boys go woo. And but living in places like rural Alaska, and I'm sure there's places like this in Canada and the lower 48 as well, where there's not a library for 100 miles, sometimes more than that. And we actually, in our little town, was about 50 miles out of the city of Fairbanks, and we had a mobile library that came every other Thursday, a little box or a truck that had books, a van, and you could pick stuff, but you could also order from their card catalog. They would bring it along with them, and you could pick what books you want, and 2 weeks later they'd bring it. And then there's, you guys have heard of the little libraries?
We have those everywhere,
all
yeah.
over the place in Atlanta.
We had those up here decades ago, but they were actually in cabins along trapping routes. So the miners and the trappers and the bush people that were going out, they would just, when they stayed in these overnight cabins to warm up, they would leave their books there, and slowly collections. And you could walk into there and you could find original copies of books from the 20s and 30s all the way up to paperbacks from now. And it's just an honor system. If you take a book, put another one in its place. If you can't, maybe leave $1 or two and we'll buy another book later. And those things have gone for decades. But this is kind of like that in audiobooks. Now I just got to figure out a way to get the MP3s out there to people who, and a way that they would actually figure out how to use them, because they're a little bushy.
Yeah. You want to go dropping iPods all over the place.
That's probably not.
Exactly. Dogs would be chewing on them with the dog sleds. And let's see. So what kind of services does ListenUp provide? I mean, you talked about you guys are now a full service publisher as well as editor and proofing company, what else? What all do you provide? Go through the whole list of your services as rendered.
Would you like to cover that, Holly?
Sure. So we've got narrators in-house and ones we find out. We have engineers here. We have editors, QCers for quality control, mastering, and then we do publishing. I do our marketing and public relations. We have started workshops, so we're training narrators now also. Did I miss anything?
We're going to be launching Listen on Hold,
Yes.
which is now we're going to be doing short, more like voiceovers,
Voice
or
branding.
voice branding for companies that need maybe on hold prompts. Press 1 if you need sales, stuff like that.
You know what would be cool? Like the on hold music. If you could get like little short stories, little flash fiction for on hold music. And then always leave them at a cliffhanger. The guy always answers the phone right before the what? No, wait, put me back on hold.
We're gonna use that. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. So we just started our ListenUp Academy, and we're doing coursework right now for narration, how to get started in becoming a narrator, how to get started in the audiobooks industry, how to direct, different character voices, and
We also have directors.
Yes.
Skip that part.
We also have directors. So we're starting to really run with that and get more coursework under our belts outside of the genre of narration. So, we do a lot of editing here. So,
You guys are like not only building the industry, but you're building your own future clientele and employees.
yeah. We're trying to expand, but still stay in the realm of audiobooks, something that ties back to the creative arts in a sense.
Right, right. Oh man, that is very cool.
Yeah.
So with all this stuff that you guys have inside and out, I know that, like you said, you contract out to some folks, like the proofers and so on. I'm thinking, and of course narrators like myself. How is your staff arranged? The like I've been confused. I've gone through what 3 or 4 of the contracts, the 13-week contracts with you guys, and the last 3, I think you guys have been the editors that I went through. And so I didn't really realize until later that I'm not sure if my editor is actually with you guys or if he's a contracted individual who's working at home. How does that work? If as a narrator, I get hired by another company who hires you guys to do the stuff, how would that process be, that relationship?
I'll jump on this one,
Yes.
sure. Well, our staff, as far as our post-production staff, is made up of both in-house and contractors. Some, we kind of, as far as the details, it's varied. A lot of our editors do work from home after they've spent a time getting the hang of it here in the studio. So a majority of the 13-week editors, let's say half and half, work here and at home. But yeah, that's as far as the actual type of employee. Most of them are contractors that work it like a full-time job. Anyways,
right.
we are able to, for the most part, keep everyone busy that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for the most part, everyone that you're working with would be a contracted editor who's, I think, for example, the guy you're working with, Ian, he's been with us for a little.
I think I worked with Ian earlier. I'm working with Nick right now. Nick Burbach.
Nick's working with you right now.
Yeah.
So Nick is. Yeah, you've done Ian and Nick. Excuse me. Nick is. He's been with the company for 3 years now, and so he's been around for a while. He's one of our veterans. But yeah, so that's the most, for the most part. A lot of these guys are working at home with their own setup once they've, I guess, graduated from our studios.
And that kind of leads me to the next question I was going to ask. I've got a lot of acquaintances who are editors. They have their own private editing company at home. Do you guys require your editors and proofers to be in Atlanta, or at least in the commuting area? Or because I know a lot of these folks all over the U.S. and Canada that would love to get into a full-time gig like this on a regular, something they could know that they're going to be working in 2 weeks. So
how would they go about something like that?
We prefer that they're in the area because we do in-house training, and we usually have them come in for about a week or so and do some extensive training with our mastering engineers. And before they're released to do their own audiobook, we have assessments and we review their work and make sure that everything is up to snuff. So it's easier when they're here, so that it's very hands-on. We have a couple people that are out of state. Most of them have started here and then have moved out of states, so we at least know we've seen them in action.
Right.
So, but it's always a possibility for out-of-state people to work for us. It's just a matter of how accessible they are, how they communicate, and their equipment of how they're communicating with us. If they can Skype, if they, and their availability. So it all kind of comes down to communication in a sense.
It's huge.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing to be able to have them come in and get to know the people individually, because I've always wondered, or I've always considered to be somewhat scarring, to work with a person online for years. I mean, there's being remote, 99% of what I do is online stuff. And but then you meet the person and you discover, wow, the entire time they've been working butt naked on my stuff, and I just don't know to be offended or what here. It's like, have you guys seen those Marine Corps boot camp graduation pictures where they're wearing the dress blue uniform? And the ones I'm talking about, all the Marines graduate and they have the white cap and they have well, until I went through boot camp, I always thought that was actually their own uniform. That thing cuts off just below your nipples. It's actually not even half of a jacket. They can't, those are $800 a pop, so they don't give that to everybody. You wear the hat and you trade this half jacket as you go. I was like, what? This like blows my concept of everything. So that's how, like right now, I'm actually wearing a kilt made of ferrets.
We assumed that much, so at least we're on point.
You're in Alaska.
Yeah, you are.
We do things our own way.
All right, the show's over. Now get over there and let's see about doing some of this swimming. You got yourself ready, or you going to put on a dry suit or something there, Buffin? No, I don't need a dry suit, because I'm not going to go under the water. I told you I'll be able to get up enough speed on the beach to run out onto that liquid water, and I will see you on the other side of the lake. I don't think that's going to work that way, brother. You're going to get wet. Oh, let him do his thing there, little brother. I think he knows what he's doing. Okay, ready? Let's go to the beach. Oh, not that one. There's already people there. Okay, this one works. No li fait guarde. Is that French? Just get in the water. Run out there and let's see what you can do. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Go, Buffin! Oh, look at him go down. Buffin. Oh, this was the deep end, wasn't it? Buffin? Okay, then.